It's so important for you to run a comprehensive financial plan as if you're running for a president right now. You hear them say a lot of talks about certain topics when it comes to real estate taxation. Do not neglect these things because those things are essential. Although it may not directly feel like it applies to you, it indirectly does. And we're going to take a look. So one of the things that Kamala Harris brought up is that she wants to increase the top tax rate on long-term capital gains to 28% for taxable income above $1 million. Right now, it's at 20%, meaning whenever you earn over a certain amount in threshold, it's a higher value. The most you'll pay in long-term capital gains is 20%. So she would increase that. That don't affect a lot of people, especially if you're not gaining over $1 million. But if you're selling a home, for example, and your gains is going to be over that amount, then you're definitely going to be impacted by this. One topic that really both touched upon was the exempt from tip income from taxation. Both candidates pretty much said that they want to exempt that. This is something that would impact everybody if you're in the tip business. If you think about the hotels, you're a waiter, waitress, and you get tips all the time. Right now, there is a lot of taxes that are being paid on that money, and they want to definitely rule that out. What that could do, just me thinking about it, it could create that effect of lessening the revenue that the IRS gets from that, therefore not having enough funds to do other things that the government needs to do. However, if you think about it, the more that we're able to keep, if we're utilizing that money to proper use in order for us to increase the economy, do things according to our community, then essentially we are doing the job for the IRS. But if we're lavishly spending that money, that extra tip money that we would get, and they're not taxing us on that money, we're being responsible with it, then yes, this is why these things happen. The thing is, the government put in place when it comes to taxation is that so they can run the community, the economy, and all these things, because they don't trust us. They don't feel like we're responsible with our own money in order for us to manage all these things to move forward. If we're able to run our own cities without no lawmakers, no control of certain money that goes back to the government were put in place, then we would be fine. But because that they don't trust us in that capacity, and I don't blame them, because a majority of people, they just don't have that responsibility, because so few are running businesses, so few are landlords. Not majority of people or mostly renters, or they're working for somebody else. They just don't have that capacity, understanding, and wisdom to be able to do that. And that's okay. Don't take shame against that. It's just we're all wired to do certain things in life. We're all born with our particular purposes that we carry on through in life. But the fact that the government has these things in place because they have a body, so that way it's more governed in a way where we're controlled, our community can keep growing, and they have more of say and that control of that. This is why they give you a huge tax break if you are donating to like charities. You get a tax deduction in regards to that if you're putting towards your 401k, because those are things that are impacting and improving the economy, the community. Therefore, they don't have to tell you to do that. You're putting your money to proper use. So if you're able to do that, then they wouldn't have to actually tax you on your tip. Them introducing this, I think, is a great thing on both sides. I just hope that those waiters, those people that provide services, your Uber tips, your delivery people, that they putting this money to good use and not lavishly spending it. The next thing is the child tax credit. Both candidates talked about this. Kamala Harris brought that she wanted to put it into tiers, so $6,000 for children under 1, $3,600 for children 2 to 5, and $3,000 for older children. Donald Trump, on the other hand, he just wanted to make it $5,000 universal, especially if you're a lower income. Those things are very important. Those tax credits, they make the biggest difference that you would get. It impacts our lives so much. I remember when I was younger and my parents was receiving that, it wasn't at this high value, but it did help a lot in order for us to do certain things. The last thing I'm going to touch upon is what Donald Trump brought up about replacing personal income taxes. So that's your Social Security, your Medicare, Medicaid, those things. These impact people who own their own business quite a bit. Like for me, self-employed, I have to pay those pretty much for myself. versus people that are on W-2s, they pay half of that portion. I don't know the impact, the complications when it comes to the increased tariffs of what he exactly meant by that. But from what I'm seeing is that it's pretty much transferring that tax from, instead of you paying it out of your income, you're paying it elsewhere. We don't know if that's going to be on the goods and things that you're paying for, you're buying at the grocery, if that's what's going to increase, therefore they're getting the money another way. Not too sure. The way I see that could work is that if you have more, then you're willing to spend more, therefore they're still getting that back, and it keeps the cycle going throughout the economy because you have more inside of your income that you're able to hold. But if you're not doing that and actually just keeping it and harboring it, then I could see where that can really hurt because the money's not cycling through now at any point in time. If you have more of your personal income that you're able to keep and spending it wisely, then that's a good case for this to actually take place. But he didn't dive into all the complexities around that. The taxes is your biggest bill. It's the biggest expense you have for the rest of your life. It's bigger than rent. Rent is actually your biggest expense after taxes, right? But the taxes get taken out for most people before they see their check. If you're self-employed, you're responsible for your own taxes. Every 3 months, I got to make these quarterly payments. And then when I file taxes, report how much I paid. If I underpaid, then I got to pay extra plus fines. If I overpaid, then I get a nice refund. This is why the topics around that is very crucial, because taxes help the government pretty much run and operate to fix the roads, repairs, schools, and be able to feed certain programs to make things happen. The more tax money that the government has, the more that they can do. But if they can incentivize people, especially the ones that run businesses and operate certain things, to be able to spend in certain areas, then the government don't have to do that. Remember, the government, they're busy with doing so many things. If other small businesses are able to capitalize on that, then of course it brings a very crucial thing to the economy. It's one thing also Kamala Harris brought up is increasing the amount of deductions from $5,000 for your startup cost to $50,000. It's a great thing. It's not so straightforward. It's not like you could write off the whole $50,000 of loss your first year and boom, you're gonna get a refund from the government. It doesn't work like that. From what she explained, it's more like either the $50,000 is gonna be over a certain period of time. There weren't any specifics on how long that could take. And if you are profitable your first year, then yes, you are able to deduct the entire $50,000, which makes sense. And I can tell you as a business owner, if you're able to get a $50,000 deduction, especially for your startup cost, it's huge. It is great. This would definitely incentivize a lot of small businesses to start up, but it also creates the opportunity for people to create chaos, because people would be starting businesses. They could actually start businesses left and right just to get this particular deduction versus the $5,000 that it is today. But I'm sure there's going to be a lot more rules and regulations. It's not going to be so straightforward. These are policies that they want to introduce and not really elaborating on the fine print and the full details. Because remember, there still has to be some negotiations that goes on between the parties, between Congress and all these things. They can't just pass these laws automatically. There's these checks and balances that are actually put in place. But for you, no matter what they do here, you still have to think about what you're doing for yourself, because they could keep changing these back and forth. It's only going to slightly impact you. But if you have your own plan that you set up, meaning you're maximizing your 401k, your retirement, you're putting towards that. If you have a business that you're thinking about, try to start it. Put some money aside to actually do it while you're working your W-2s. And if you have a W-2, take capitalization on the employer-employee matching that they have. So the more you put towards your 401k, the more they would match if you have that capacity. And if you're able to donate to certain charitable organizations, those things as well are very important. You can't just harbor everything, income, bring it to you, and you're not giving anything back. It's good, because what happens is your cup is full and you want to be able to receive more inside of your cup. And if your cup is full all the time, you're not able to receive any extra. That's why it's good to make sure you set aside some to give. You want to be at service to people as well. So if you can get into real estate when it comes to like renting part of your home or buying rental properties, those are things that really help build wealth when it comes to real estate. That's why you want to really capitalize on these opportunities that you have, because these things create ability for you to reduce your taxes. The real estate has several factors to it. Remember, you can rent it out, receive rental income. You can depreciate the rental side of the property. If you're renting out the entire thing, you could depreciate the entire property over the course of 27 and a half years. You could write off all the repairs on that property and all the expenses that you have pretty much the same year. And on top of that, it builds equity over time, which allows you to leverage it to be able to do more. Like, just to give you an example, right now, my parents' property, the New York City is willing to pay $1,100 per room to rent out per room inside of that home. That's how much they're willing to pay. And if you think about it, just as an example, $1,100, what does it get you when it comes to like a HELOC at the current interest rates? It's almost $125,000. So if you think about it, if I rent out one room, I could literally call the bank up, be like, I need a HELOC for $125,000, and you literally took $125,000 out of your home from the equity inside of your home, and it costs you nothing because you're renting out a space to pay for that loan that you took out. And this is where the exchange happened. Those are things that you're doing to benefit the economy. One, you have a loan in place to help a bank keep operating, to keep bringing income coming in. Another thing, you're keeping someone else off the streets because you're providing them a home that they're able to inhabit in. And on top of that too, you took money which hopefully you're not just lavishly going to spend it, but you're going to use to invest, so that way you can keep that whole cycle going. And this is what you got to keep: rent, cycle, and repeat. So definitely think about that when it comes to how you're building your wealth and how you're really impacting your life financially, because you want to do this as if you're running for a presidential campaign. If you found all this insightful, like, share, and subscribe so others as well can get inspired when it comes to building their wealth and harvesting the capabilities, all the utilities that are available now that were not available before. The access that we have through technology is just amazing at this point. So please definitely do that, and I look forward to sharing more with you next time. Peace and love. Trust in Jesus. Have an amazing one.